We are so excited to have you guys here with us and to learn what those schools have for the students in the future. I also want to thank our sponsor, Dilated Medical Center, for being so generous and helping us with all this event today. Okay, so just a quick membership benefit. We do offer payroll partners. So if you are a chamber member, that is something you can look into enrolling in. If you're looking to switch payroll or starting a business that needs payroll, they offer you the first 3 months free and then a fee for free after that. If that's something you're interested in or any of our member benefits, feel free to reach out to us. Okay, some of our recently joined team members. So we've got Huntington Bank, Key Bank, Bellawood Farm. So if you're not familiar, it used to be Flystone Farms. They're a big barn event venue, and I think the barn grow as well. They got new ownership and kind of did, I think, a little bit of a revamp and are reopening soon. Canal Kids Pediatric Dentistry. If you don't know, those white buildings kind of across the street from Little Messina, that's what's going in at least most of the bottom part. And they have opening soon, but not at it yet. And then that logo is First Round Picks. They are by the Kroger. They're brand new. They are like a hobby card shop, so Pokemon and other things like Pokemon. You can find there. Their ribbon cutting is really soon, so that is Sunday. That's going to be, I think we're cutting the ribbon around 11:50, and then they'll open the doors at noon, so you can go in and check things out. And then they'll be open until 8 that day. Just some of our upcoming events. We did bring the golf outing back this year. We're so excited. It's actually really soon, so it's May 16th. If you don't have a team registered, get on there and get a team registered. And we do have sponsorships available still for that as well, such as full sponsorships, put your logo out a hole or set up a table, or maybe sponsor breakfast, something like that. Our next chamber chat, so our next lunch, is June 18th. And it is a strategic framework planning session. So, and this isn't just for a new business or a business that needs a revamp, even if you have, say, a personal goal or a side gig that you want to start or create a new plan for. She runs Navigate Consulting as her business, and so this is just what she does. She helps businesses set up their strategic plans. It is a lengthy one. It's a 3-hour workshop, but you will leave with a framework for an entire strategic plan in your hands for the next 3, 5, 10, whatever. Sunrise Social. Our next one is May 20th. These are aimed towards maximizing the membership. So you hear me talk the whole time, which is hopefully good. And we talk about all of the membership benefits of being a part of the chamber. So if you were looking for more ways to get involved or to utilize more of those payroll partners like I was talking about, that is a great place for that. We kind of rotate locations. This next one is at Big Lumps. You can come. They're free to sign up, but obviously buy your own breakfast. And we get a lot of new members at those, and then sometimes along to new members who are looking to get re-involved in the chamber. So today we have Kaya Hunt and Jasmine Stevenson with us to give you the update on the schools. So Kaya Hunt has served in educational leadership for more than a decade and became superintendent of Canal Winchester Schools in July 2022. Before stepping into this role, she spent 8 years as the district's assistant superintendent. Hunt is a licensed superintendent, principal, and teacher, holding a bachelor's degree in education from Urbana University and a master's in education from Marian College. She completed her superintendent's licensure coursework at Ohio University. And then Jasmine Stevenson. So Jasmine is the career readiness coordinator at Canal Winchester High School, where she helps students explore their futures through career counseling, hands-on learning experiences, and partnerships with local employers. Before joining Canal Winchester Schools, Stevenson served as a career counselor at The Ohio State University and as a high school counselor at Metro Early College High School. Stevenson holds a master's degree in counselor education and a doctorate in higher education and student affairs with a focus on public policy management, both from The Ohio State University. So with all that being said, I think we'll hear from Jasmine a little bit later, but right now, Ms. Kaya.
Quick question. Do I need to stay at the podium since there's recording, or can I walk into it? See where the best. I struggle just standing in place, in one place, plus I'd like to see the slide. So first of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming in and being here today. And thank you to Claire for arranging this opportunity for us to share about what we're doing in the schools. I want to just take a moment and introduce my team that's here with me today. If you guys will stand up, all of you, so I don't miss anybody. And then that way I'll just do a quick introduction. So first we have Nick Roberts, our school treasurer. Thank you. Angela Barnes is our president of our Board of Education. Monica Talley is a board member as well. Jasmine Stevenson, who will be speaking a little bit later. Then we have Megan Anthony, who is our director of communication, and Dr. Brooke Hippler, who is our director of special education. Moving in the back, then we have Dr. Sam McCooley, who is our director of technology. Steve Satanovich is our high school principal, and Max Lawathan, who is our director of student services. A bit further, then we have Cindy Toledo, who is our director of human resource. Deb Fink is our director of secondary teaching and learning, and Craig Lautenschlager, who is our director of elementary education. And then we also, I saw Matthew, who is our school SRO in high school. So, thank you. And there's a picture of me. A little bit about Canal Winchester Schools, in case you're not familiar with our schools. We have our Indian Trail Elementary, which is our preschool to second grade building. Winchester Trail Elementary is our 3rd to 5th grade building. The middle school is 6 to 8, and then the high school is our 9 to 12. Our community, we are made up of just under 4,000 students. We have 513 staff members, more than 5,800 parents and guardians, and over 14,500 residents that we serve. Our state report card from last year, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this, but things have changed over the year, and we used to get grades, A, B, C, D, and F, and we have moved to a star system, which I do think is a little bit better, because for some reason, well, I think anybody who's a parent or who went to school, although there is the line C's get degrees, C's are not looked at well upon when you're looking at them on a school report card. However, when you're looking at it from this point, we have 3, 3.5, 4, and 5 stars. And what 3 means is that you met your standards. So we have met those standards that are set for us by the state of Ohio. 4 means we have exceeded standards, and then a 5 means that we have significantly exceeded standards. So if you can look across the board, you can see that we have all above 3, 4s, and 5s. We do have 1 2-star that's at Winchester Trail, and there are a lot of reasons. A main reason around that, and it's kind of a system of students on RIMS, which are plans that we put for students, and those students, not enough students came off of those RIMS. So when they came to us, they were at a level to where we needed to put them on a reading plan, an improvement plan for them specifically, and then not enough of those students came off of those plans. However, our data shows that by the time those students who are on RIMS, when they come in early, move on, by the time they're in 5th grade, we are able to move a majority of those students off of the RIMS. So we do see the progress over the years there. But again, looking at the district, you can see that overall we are a 4-star, which means we exceed an achievement, which means are the students learning at the pace at which the state sets? We are meeting that. Progress is meaning, are they growing? Are we taking students from where they come in at the beginning of that grade level and growing them? We have a 4-star, so we're exceeding. Gap closing is where you're looking at different groups of students. So this is, we have a group of all students, and there are several of them. Examples would be, we have all students, we have our white non-Hispanic students, we would have our black non-Hispanic students, English language learners, special education students, et cetera, et cetera. So that will look, and it's set against a state standard. So how our students are doing compared to a state standard that is set of those students in those same groups. And then our graduation is a 5-star. It looks at both a 4-year and a 5-year graduation cohort, but we are significantly exceeding in our graduation rates. And then early literacy, we'll be looking at students in K-3 and how well they are doing with literacy. And that again, we're meeting. So, and that was from last school year. We get that in the summer, so we'll be looking at those as well for the 24-25 school year coming up. We're going to start off first and just talk about living our promise. Claire mentioned the strategic planning that's coming up. In my first year of superintendency, we spent time developing a strategic plan, which we call the CW Promise. Our CW Promise is it's a promise, not a plan, and we take that seriously. So that is our promise to not only our students, our staff, our families, but also our community. And so we are laying that out. In my first year, we developed a one-year plan so that we could get moving and set some pretty significant goals that we could work toward and use that as our driving force and where we go. And then after year one, we took that next year to really develop a plan that was for the next 3 years. Our plan is broken into 4 different focus areas. The first being teaching and learning, and we're going to go through the 4 areas: teaching and learning, safety and wellness, school culture, and operations. And I just here picked out a couple to identify some good examples of some tactics or strategies that we are putting into place within those next 3 years. This being year 1, so some of these have been completed. The first we have up here under teaching and learning would be to conduct a college and career awareness audit, and that has been completed this year. From that, at the end of my presentation, you'll hear about some pathways that we're putting into place, and that has come from this audit that we have here. And we also want to create a professional development team of staff members so that we make sure that we're meeting their needs, and that will be in place by the end of next year. Again, as we look at it's a 3-year plan. Oh, got a little excited. Next, we have safety and wellness. One of the things we'll be doing, or we have already done, is provide a consistent PBIS training throughout all the buildings. And we're also looking to create an after-action review process for safety drills. And again, that's already been completed. We do have a great working relationship with some of you that are here around the table, and they sit in our safety meetings that we have in the district where we talk through different scenarios. And those strategies have been put into place this year to where after something happens, we do meet and talk about what happened, how could we improve, what could we do better, and what do we need resource-wise to make sure that we're equipped to handle these concerns in the future. The third focus area is school culture. We will develop a customer service plan for the district. We want to ensure that our families feel involved, and so to make sure that we're meeting their needs so that we can support the students. And also create a committee to improve transition points, and this would be between our buildings. So we find that between the 2nd and the 3rd grade, we have that transition and then a big change to the buildings. Between 5th grade and 6th grade, 8th and 9th. So we really want to look at forming those and making sure that we are able to support the kids when they come to the buildings. And last but not least is our operations. We want to implement a community engagement process for facilities and master planning. We have already completed this. That was actually done in is that the fall of this year already? Very much. A lot of work went into that, but that has already been completed. And then also we want to create a school bus safety curriculum to grades K2, which is already having occurred. So what that looks like is our drivers are a part, they come into the building, we talk about what it's like to be on a bus, how should it look? Because a lot of our students, it's their first time riding the bus and they don't know what riding a bus with sometimes 40 plus students would look like. And that's happening in our buildings. The next focus that I'm going to talk about is investing in our future, an update from this past school year. The first is that we were able to implement the first year of all-day kindergarten, and we added, very excited. We do believe that adding the additional time and it does allow us to build a very strong foundation for our future, and we're excited to see where those gains will come from and how that will affect then 1st grade, 2nd grade, and so on. And we're really excited about that. We did open the new Indian Trail Edition this school year, this August, so that's exciting. And we had about 240 students who were enrolled this year in kindergarten. We were able to offer free school meals to all of our students, so again, that was a super exciting thing for us. We know that when students are fueled and they don't have to worry about where their food is coming from during the day, that they are able to learn, and so that was an exciting thing for us. We were just last week recognized as a top workplace from Columbus CEOs, and that was very exciting. was very exciting. We actually were the only school district that was invited to be a part of the top, I'm not sure, it's like top 80, you have to get an 80% or higher to be recognized, and so that was very exciting for us. And we're actually excited to continue to grow on those numbers. We were able to get the data, but that was an anonymous survey that was given to our staff in this fall of this school year. And so those results, you have to meet a certain standard in order to be recognized as a top workplace and invited. We were invited to that ceremony last week. And the planning for our future. So I did talk a little bit earlier about our community involvement that we wanted to put into for our master planning. We did have that community engagement in the fall of this year. We had community advisory team that met often throughout the fall, took feedback. We also had several focus groups, which were made up of staff, students, parents, community members, athletes, performing arts groups, and we listened. And the number of meetings that we had and the number of hours that we had, took all that information, came back. We wanted to ensure, one of the reasons that we wanted to make sure that we got community involvement is we did not want to guess what was needed and wanted. We had our idea, which happens a lot. Hey, we think we need, hey, we're gonna do this, but we really wanted to get the community involvement to make sure that what we felt like the district needed was what our community wanted, and we did find that to be very parallel, and which allows us to then move into our facilities master plan. We have ended up breaking it down into 2 different phases. Phase 1 will include a new performing arts center. It will include a new athletic field house, and it will include new athletic site improvements as well as site improvements overall to the high school. Those improvements will be new athletic fields for baseball and softball. Our baseball field is actually over 40, 50 years old. And so definitely needed for, being able to meet the requirement, like the standard that is set around Central Ohio for athletic facilities. Also the field house, we are still defining what an athletic field house will look like, but it will include some turf and also some meeting space, new locker rooms, weight room facilities, concession stand possibility. Again, all of the items that we're looking at it from a holistic view of what do we currently have, what can be reused, what can be repurposed to ensure that we get all that we need in that field house. And then also the Performing Arts Center, which I'm gonna sneak ahead real quick. We just received this. Again, it's just a design. We're in very early stages of looking at what it could look like, what square footage it will be in the design stage. But this is a rendering that we got last week on what the Performing Arts Center could look like at the high school. And this will be off the back of the building, if you're familiar with the site near the tennis courts. So we're super excited about what that could look like. And it offers a Performing Arts Center of a minimum of 700 seats and a lot of other programming that we would be able to have. I'm gonna pause here because I see a lot of you taking pictures. Again, we're really excited about this. Right now, this is scheduled potentially for an opening of January of 2027. And then back to phase 2, really, this is enrollment based. So when we added at Indian Trail, the addition to Indian Trail, we moved preschool from Winchester Trail to Indian Trail. So we could have a true early literacy building. And with that, we opened up some classrooms at Winchester Trail. So I know a lot of you here, with the growth that's happening in Canal Winchester in Central Ohio, especially that you hear the housing developments coming in, we know with some of those developments, we are prepared for some growth that could come in because we have additional space. And so we also know that the kindergarten numbers, we expect that they're going to grow from birth rates and the information that we have. So as they grow, we're gonna see those students come to us. So as they come through Indian Trail, we will be prepared to be able to offer at least 2 additional classrooms at each grade level through Winchester Trail, which is our 3-5 building. But once we see them come and we know that they're there, by the time they roll from 5th to 6th grade, that's where we start to have our issues with size. And so we would be looking at potentially a new 7-8 building that would be on the current Canal Winchester Middle School site. Canal Winchester Middle School site would then become a 5-6 building. The junior high would be a 7-8 building. We would also do additional site improvements at the middle school with all the things, athletics, flow, etc. And then we would look at also adding on a high school competition gym during that time. And then the next now is for us to start talking about building our career-ready graduates, and I'm going to invite Jasmine Stevenson up. Yep.
Okay, good afternoon. I'm Jasmine Stevenson. I'm the Career Readiness Coordinator. My primary location is over at the high school. I get over to the middle school a little bit, and I hope to see myself at the elementary too. Career development really is K through 12, and so as I talk through this, I want to also incorporate some ideas that we have that center around how do we make this a K through 12 initiative as we prepare students for life after graduation. I have 4 focus areas up here. I feel like I do a lot more, but my primary focus areas are individualized career counseling. This one is really important to me. Sitting down with the student one-on-one to talk about their goals, their aspirations, what it is they're looking for to create individualized, tailored plans for our students. We do this in a lot of different areas. Career is an area that I see we don't do this very well. And so I make it a goal to sit down with as many students as I can to have these discussions. Sometimes I involve parents so that they feel like they're getting the attention that they need and they can ask those questions, or even sometimes questions they don't know that they have, and I can talk through that with them. Classroom partnerships across content areas. And so this isn't exclusive to just our career tech. If I can get into an English classroom or into a math classroom, so we can think about how do we connect career to the classroom. Often I'll hear a student, maybe they're an algebra student, how am I gonna ever use this, right? And so it's important for us to have those conversations with them to let them know why it's important, what careers it's connected to, and to help instructors integrate career into their classroom so students can actually see those connections. I do a lot of event planning and community connections. I know a lot of you here from just my involvement with the chamber and being in the community. And so event planning can be a career fair, mock interviews, those sorts of things to have our community members involved in the schools and to give students an opportunity to also network and engage and to see what opportunities are out there for them. And I also oversee our experiential learning programs, which I'll talk about a little bit more. So we had our career expo this past spring, and we had over 25 employers show up, which was a really good number. And we had hundreds of students get to roll through. We already got some confirmation that some students have gotten summer jobs. And it was a great opportunity for students to show up and to practice those professional competencies they may not otherwise have a chance to, right? So they have to come dressed and ready. They have to have their resume, all of those things. I got great feedback from employers that this was one of the best career fairs that they've been to because the students were so well prepared. Right? They know that a lot of those students aren't old enough to work, and so they're volunteering their time. And I wanted them to see, okay, this next generation, when they're ready and able to work, they're gonna come to us ready on day 1. And so that was a great experience for students. I coordinate a lot of field trips, so students are getting out of the building, they're going to see what it looks like, they're going on workplace tours, try to take them to places they may not think about, right? We ask a kid, well, what do you want to be when they grow up? They typically give you the typical answers, things they've heard of or things they know will make an adult happy. I want to be a teacher, I want to be a doctor. And there's nothing wrong with that. Those things are great. But we should also be exposing children to all of the opportunities there are for them. So if a student's interested in the sciences, they don't just have to be a doctor. They could be a criminologist, they could be a forensic specialist. So I took some students to the Ohio State Highway Patrol Crime Lab so they could see what that looks like. Right? And we got to be in a room with all of these drugs, and it was an interesting experience, right? I was like, oh, is this okay? But they got to see what that really looks like. They're like, oh, okay, so I can test for this, and this is a part of law enforcement where I can use my science background. So it was just a cool experience for those kids. Career speakers, hands-on activities, all of those things so students are actually engaged in the doing, and we're allowing and having the privilege of community members to come inside of the school so we can make it a holistic experience so students are ready. work-based learning in action. Work-based learning, that's a term, if you're in education or anywhere in this space, you'll hear that all the time, work-based learning. And the point of work-based learning is for students to actually do the work, right? I use the analogy with students often. You can read a book about knowing how to swim, front page to cover, but if you never get in the water, you don't know how to swim, right? And so lots of times we're learning about these things, but we're not doing the work. And so work-based learning is really important for our students to go out and to get the practical experience, to put the knowledge that they receive in the classroom to practice. So this year, we have 5 paid internships through the Ohio High School Tech Internship Program. It's a program, it's an initiative of the state where they will reimburse an employer for hiring students up to 75% of their wages. So it's a great incentive for employers to do that. And so our students get to go through that, and Canal Winchester, as a district, we're employing those 5 students, and there will be others who will work other places, but they get to go and they get to learn from professionals how to actually do the work. They have a mentor, and so they're learning those skills. Our Cisco Networking Academy, we always have great student placement rates there. Mrs. Thomas-Check, the instructor for that program, does a great job making connections and making sure students are taking what they learn in her classroom, and so they have the real world application, so they're building their resumes. Other things like shadowing in the healthcare field, flex credit, pre-apprenticeships. And pre-apprenticeships, this is what I really wanna highlight. Sometimes we hear that term, we don't really know what it is, right? So maybe you know what an apprenticeship is, but a pre-apprenticeship is really a program that's connected to a registered apprenticeship where students can learn the skills that it takes to do an apprenticeship. So we just had a student do a pre-apprenticeship to be an electrician. He went through that program, and so he pretty much did the first semester of a registered apprenticeship. He earned industry recognized credentials and had an opportunity to interview with employers who will then hire him on, and he'll get to be paid as he learns and goes through that apprenticeship. So that's something that I'm really excited about, and as we continue to learn more about those, and employers are open to what that looks like. So if you know anyone who might be open to hosting students and stuff and learning about these opportunities, I'm happy to have a conversation, or internships and things like that. Because I do a lot of work in the community, and I talk to a lot of you, and I'm constantly learning more about what it is that students need to be prepared once they leave Canal Winchester High School, I really am trying to respond to that feedback. And so that looks like helping students learn to be professionals, right? How do you write a resume? Do you have a LinkedIn profile? Prepping them for interviews, making them go through these processes so they learn the skills. We did a mini informational interviewing event this past fall, and it was great. The students got to interview their professional. And it's fine to do a mock interview, but often students will not respond well if they don't have a target or they're not prepped well for that. And so I prepped them, and they got to sit down with a professional, and some of you may have participated in that event, and they got to ask questions to the interviewer. And so they had to show up, and they had to take initiative. It's just helping them to learn those skills that will help them be successful. Whatever they choose to do, whether it's enlistment, whether it's employment or enrollment, they will be ready. We're focusing a lot on communication, professionalism. If I talk to any of you about this, right, helping students learn what does it take to be a professional. You cannot show up in pajamas, right? If you know me, you know that's probably my #1 thing, making sure that students know, okay, if you're going to show up and you want people to know that you're ready, how do you present yourself? Problem solving. So employers, every year there's a survey by the National Association of Colleges and Employers. Those employers and those colleges, they tell us these are the things that we're looking for. Out of the top 10, 2 of them are technical, all of the rest are transferable skills. Some of us may call them soft skills. So employers are saying, we will train you, but these other things, punctuality, reliability, you need to come with those things. We can't train you on that, it's a little too late. And so that's one of the goals that I really have for every student at Canal Winchester. When you leave, you're ready to work, whatever that looks like. I also like to take the time to formalize some of the things that we already have going on. We have like library helpers, but what does that look like? What are the learning outcomes? Are you learning the things that you need to be able to go out into the world and to be ready to work? And then helping students just show up. whatever that looks like for them. I have like a career closet in my room at the school, so that's business attire. So if a student's like, I have an interview, but I don't have anything to wear, okay, I got you. You can come and you can get something to wear, right? And so I want for our community partners to feel like they're getting a return on their investment. If I'm asking you to take a chance on our students, I want for you to feel like they're going to show up and they're not going to be a liability, but you're going to get something out of it and you're going to want to continue to hire our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Jasmine. She does a fantastic job and does a wonderful job with our students getting them prepared. Lastly, just following up, I know I mentioned earlier that we had a career audit at the high school, and from that, we do have some new pathways that are coming into the high school. The first one is our educational pathway, so we are looking at having a education apprentice program. It's new, we're piloting it, that's in schools, we do that a lot when we're not sure exactly how it's gonna look. We'll say we're piloting it, and so we have 16 students now? 9, 16?
We have
11 students.
See that.
We're gonna work on trying to pinpoint some more, but those students will actually go through training with us, with a staff member on, professionalism, what does it take, how to tutor students, and then we will place those students within our buildings to work with students and get experience as a teacher. When they come out, they will be able to sit for a paraprofessional license, which means they would actually be able to come back and work for us after graduation, while they're doing school if they could, or, depending on their situation, it just gives them that leg up. Trying to build the pipeline for our education. And then the next one is our student-run business. This is going to be a student-run business. We're starting with students will be trained on how to run a business, start a business, and then be able to print shirts. So there'll be shirt printing, there'll be embroidery, potentially. There's printing, etching.
Large format printers for banners, laser engraver, all kinds of neat things.
Yeah, so we're gonna start small in being able to have our students, but one of the things that we're really excited about is not only will we have students who are on the business side of, okay, we need to take orders, we need to process that, we need to design, what do people want from that? So if they're designing t-shirts, what would sell to our students or our staff, or even eventually, potentially opening it up to the community. Banners, I know senior banners are a big thing right now, so that would be something we'd be able to design and print. But then on the flip side, we also want to then partner with some of our students who are in a work-based learning and need to receive hours. So students right now, one of the things that when we do have an opportunity for students to go out and work during the day to where they can be paid and get experience in that, some of our students do not have transportation and that becomes a roadblock. So this would be an opportunity to where we could train students to work on the machinery and actually do the work within that student-run business. So it's almost twofold of looking at it from a business marketing standpoint, and then also on a actually physically doing the work to produce the products. And so we're super excited about that. And then we also have, not really a pathway, but we also are in our first year of starting what we're calling the hub at Canal Winchester High School. We are doing small pockets of these things already, but we're going to have a hub in the sense of an online academy will be a part of it. So students in grades 7 through 12 will be able to take classes completely online, and they will have a teacher that's tied to them to make sure that they are completing the work and help with it, working through, having connections to where we're checking in. They'll still get the information that we do. We have a portrait of a graduate period where they're learning skill sets or getting the information they need for college or career, whatever it may be. They would still have those opportunities in an online setting. And so that is something that we're excited about to be able to offer and to grow that program. But within that, we'll also do credit recovery, which is for our students who, have not found success in the traditional setting. And so maybe it's just one course that they're struggling with or didn't pass. We're able to get them caught up in a shorter period of time with the support that they need. And then also it would be an opportunity for students who are with us, who potentially need help in certain, one subject area to get help. And so this will be, the hub is all encompassing the umbrella, but the online academy is something new that we're able to offer to our students 7 through 12. And so we're, again, newly to that, but we're looking at how many students we're servicing, and then those students they could work at home completely as long as they're being successful. If not, they might have to come in half days, 2 days a week. It's very flexible, and then what it is it meets the students where they're at, and it provides for that individualized instruction for each child. And that is all I have for today. Are there any questions for us before we wrap up? Awesome. Well, we will be around if there are. Oh, yep, I got one.
With the budget proposals, I know there was a presentation that was given last week at the board meeting. Should we give like a 2-minute summary of what that means to us as property taxpayers and what it means to the school district?
Absolutely.
Please.
Do you want to do that?
Sure.
Awesome. I'm gonna have Nick come up and do that. Thank you.
Hey, yeah, the budget's a mess right now. The governor released his version to keep a formula in place. Basically, calculations go in, inputs go in, and the money that goes to each school is calculated and given. The House wants to scrap that. It's supposed to be a 6-year phase-in plan. We're in the 4th year of that. The House wants to remove that, going to a flat funding model, which short-term benefits us. That doesn't make any sense. The formula were to stay. They weren't adjusting base costs. So essentially what the state was saying was the inputs for the revenue side that tells you your local wealth changes and updates, but the cost to educate the student is still based on 2020 numbers. So the only result for us is local capacity increases. If you don't change the base cost, and the base cost to educate a child is say $7,000, and we were splitting that at $3,500 a piece, if they don't change the base costs, our share goes to $4,000, it goes to $4,500, it goes to $5,000, it just continues. So the governor's piece of his budget was good to keep the formula, but without the base cost change, the formula is really junk, because they're not going to give the schools the money that they need. The House version, this is not new. So when we implemented CEP, what that did for us, the reason we did that is that the state bases the disadvantaged economic funding off of how many disadvantaged kids you have. The moment we went CEP, we went from 44% to 100% of our school district being disadvantaged. So that took our DPI funding from the state from $300,000 to $2.8 million. So the food service side cost us $500,000, but we picked up $2.3 million from the state, so it was a net gain for us. And we also knew that there was a chance the formula was going to go away, so getting the base cost as high as we could and setting that into stone, knowing that a new governor's coming in the next 2 years, knowing that there's a good chance we needed to get the base cost as high as we could from the state. So we're sitting in a great position thanks to the CEP. So our kids get to eat free, plus we picked up additional money from the state that they're not planning to take away from us. The biggest piece of the House budget for us is they want to impose a restriction that every public school district is not able to carry over more than 30% of their prior year expenditures, which would drastically, it would hurt us. We would go from 45 million to 17 million. We haven't been at a $17 million cash balance in a while. Now it sounds high, but cash flow for school districts, we receive property tax in August, and then we receive it in April. So November, December, January, February, we don't have a lot of cash flow coming in. So when you end with 17 million during November, December, January, I've been in a district where I couldn't pay vendor checks in January because our cash flow was so low that I just said, we're not gonna write any vendor checks, sorry, electric bill for the month, we'll pick that up when we get our property taxes. And then, I mean, the biggest problem with that, as I told the board at the board meeting, is that's a local level control. That's why boards are elected, that's why we have 5 board members. They're the ones that are being held accountable by that public. The state shouldn't have to come in to say, you can only have X amount of dollars in your cash reserves. The budget's currently sitting in the Senate. The early indications that we're getting from them is that they're not in favor of a cash reserve policy. But they've got other kind of out the door thoughts. Andrew Brenner actually proposed a bill that flat funds every school district in Ohio to where all 610 districts, the property tax locally would go away. You wouldn't be able to levy income, property, so local level control would be completely gone. And they want it to basically be at the state level where you pay property taxes to them and all the money funnels through the state. I don't think that'll go anywhere, but that was introduced. I think that's the Senate's version that they want to do. I don't know if they're gonna try to stick with the fair funding formula or base costs. It's still early in the finance committees. So once that's done, they'll come together, the House and the Senate. They'll have a subcommittee. They'll kind of hash out their differences, come to an agreement, send it to the governor, and then the governor will have the right to veto certain line items or change it completely back to whatever he might want to do. So, but typically they won't do that. They'll go with whatever the subcommittee was. So right now it's just really up in the air. I'm hoping at this point, without a base cost change, flat funding is the best for us at this point. I've been a part of 3 funding formulas, so diminishing the funding formula and scrapping it's not new. The last time we got into year 6 of 8, it was an 8-year phase in under Governor Kasich. They scrapped it before the final 2 years took place. I feel like they're just kicking the ball down the street as long as they can and just kind of avoiding the problem. I mean, you're gonna hear underfunding schools, overfunding schools. I don't know which side of that is technically true. I mean, I feel like we're doing pretty well. We have a cash balance to speak of, but a lot of that's because of locals' effort here lately. But our message to the public is, no matter what happens, we have a plan one way or another. We try to think ahead. We try to be 2 steps ahead of what they're trying to do to us. So whatever happens, if the cash policy comes in, we'll have a plan for it. And then we'll make sure it's a good plan for our community that we're able to strive. So, any other questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Alright, that's all that we have for you. I have some to-go boxes for the food if you wanna help me not have to eat like 16 pounds of pasta, that'd be great. Brownies in the back, drinks to go. Other than that, enjoy the rest of your day. Stay, hang out